Hello everyone, this is Speedster. So this video, as I said in the previous video, will be about what if World War II happened in 2022. So let's get right into this. Let's not get into more trash talk, alright? Because I know y'all are very excited for my first mapping video on this channel. I myself am very excited for this too. And this will be a real interesting scenario because, of course, times have changed. And if World War II were to happen right now, it would be different from what happened according to history. So there's gotta be some minor changes with the size. There's gonna be some um, minor changes with the plans and stuff and how it goes. So yeah, just bear with me on this one. You might have different opinions, but this video is not meant to be 100% realistic. It has some mostly realistic stats in here, but there are some stuff that may not be realistic. So like it's realistic and unrealistic at the same time. I hope you get that. So yeah, let's get right into this. So in order for Germany to be able to win World War II, they gotta have a plan because Germany is a lot weaker compared to back in the 1930s. So if they were to win World War II in 2022, they gotta come up with a plan. And that's exactly what Germany does here, alright? So let's have a look at what exactly Germany's plan is. So here we basically have the countries that Germany wants to form a big alliance with to help out in World War II, colored in red. So yeah, and then there's Ukraine, colored in pink, because they want Russia to either annex it completely or annex some of it and then get the remainder of Ukraine to be puppeted. So yeah, let's see. So here there's Germany, who would like to annex all of Austria, the Czech Republic, and Slovakia. And then there's Russia. Now you may be wondering, why the hell would Russia want to side with Germany here? They do not have even close to having good relations in real life. Well, let me explain. Indeed, their relations are not good, but Germany has one big problem to worry about in real life right now, and that is the oil. So they hope to improve relations with Russia to solve this problem, and also they realize that they have a common enemy, which is Poland and the Baltics. So if they could get rid of them together, it will be a win-win situation for both. And if you remember from history, the Germans and the Soviet Union did sign a pact to split up Poland and then become allies. So yeah, Germany goes smart here and decides to keep this pact. So this is why we have the Russians siding with Germany here. And then of course there's Italy, and according to this plan, Italy would have to annex Slovenia, Croatia, as well as Albania. And then there's Serbia, which is a Russian ally. They would have to annex the remainder of Yugoslavia. And then there's Spain, Hungary, and then there's a lot of these Russian allies in Asia. We have India, we have Thailand. Now the plan with India and Thailand is to eventually connect up their front lines and pretty much smack into Myanmar and then Southeast Asia. And then we have a lot of these North African powers. So yeah, let's see if Germany's plan actually exceeds here. So here we have the Germans invading the Czech Republic. So right here we see the Germans make a spearhead towards Prague and capture the city successfully. The spearhead continues and split the Czech Republic into two. The western part of Czech Republic falls, and after capturing pretty much all of the major cities remaining in the Czech Republic, we see them surrender. So taking a look at the speech tree here, we basically have full annexation of the Czech Republic here by the Russians. So now let's get on to the second part of the plan, which is Russia invading Ukraine. Now, when it comes to the Russian invasion of Ukraine, we gotta have the current front line in real life. So I tried drawing it out here. It's not totally accurate. There's some curves and stuff that are not accurate according to the real life location. But I tried, and you know, it's hard drawing it out like this. But basically, you can see that they've gotten control in all of Donbass and Luhansk, and then they have some progress made crossing the Dnipro River down south near Crimea. They've captured Kherson, but then we also see Ukraine making some progress in Kharkiv. So in this scenario, Russia will have a much easier time expanding into Ukraine, mainly because in this scenario, Russia's military is fully mobilized, whereas for Ukraine, they're really receiving a lot less support. Because in real life, Germany is supporting Ukraine, but in this scenario, since Germany and Russia wants to form an alliance where they get rid of Ukraine to be under their side, we're gonna have Germany supporting Russia here, and pretty much every other country that is in this plan. Well, before we get further in, I just want to remind that those alliances like NATO, EU, UN, those stuff do not exist here. Just to give everyone a more fair environment here, let's just say. And if those were to exist, this would definitely become a EU or NATO civil war. So yeah, that would not be nice. Let's not get into that. This would also make the video more interesting. So getting back to the Russian invasion of Ukraine, we basically have the Russians storming into Ukraine, given that their army is fully mobilized at this point, as well as Ukraine receiving less support. And they capture Kiev from the north, as well as capture everything that is towards the east of the Dnipro River. But then we also see some of the Russian troops already crossing the Dnipro River, at least according to the front line right now in real life. So they make use of these troops and swarm into western Ukraine. They capture the last major city in Ukraine, which is Lviv. I have no idea how to pronounce that, so I'm just gonna spell it. But anyway, remaining Ukraine just surrenders, because like they barely exist right now. They're on the verge of collapsing anyways. So yeah, let's have a look at this peace treaty. So taking a look at this peace treaty here, we have Belarus getting some land up north. We have the Russians taking out pretty much all of the Russian speaking lands in Ukraine. So the remainder of Ukraine is populated. And yeah, the Russians do not stop here. We actually see them continuing by invading Moldova as well as Georgia. So I'll leave that to yourself, because these are some really tiny countries. They're quite mountainous, but they're just no match for the Russians. And yeah, the Moldovan territory is given to the Ukrainian puppet, and Georgia is fully annexed by Russia. So from here, some countries are not happy about what the Russians and the Germans and all that are doing, but we do see some alliances form up. We have the German alliance expanding, so have a look. We have Italy officially joining the alliance as they annex Croatia and Slovenia. We have Serbia also joining and annexing the countries according to plan. We have these CSTO members joining in. And then, of course, there's Japan. So, yeah, not nearly all of the countries Germany wants have joined in yet. But eventually, in the real war, we will see a lot of them join on Germany's side. So, as I said, a lot of countries are not happy with what they've been doing here. So, we're gonna see an alliance form up against them. So, this is kind of like NATO in this world, where basically if you invade one of these countries, then the whole pack gets activated and declare war on that country who invades one of their members. So let's look at the pact, right? There's here we have Canada, the USA, Greenland, Iceland, the UK, France, Portugal, the Baltics, the Nordics. We have Poland, we have Romania and Bulgaria, there's Turkey, Azerbaijan, South Korea, the Philippines, Australia, and New Zealand. You know, all these make sense. They're close allies to the UK, USA, Canada, and countries of those likes. So with that, we actually have this German alliance here declaring war on Poland, which leads to the green alliance that you're seeing here get activated. So there we go. We have World War II about to erupt, and this is the war so far. But we're gonna see more countries joining in. So there we go. This is the map of the countries that join in, and yeah, it's almost all of the world that's joining in World War II, because yeah, I want to make this war bigger, you know. And let me explain through some of these countries' size, right? So Germany did not get all of the countries that they want to be on their side, like Nigeria. They wanted that on their side, but they went for the Allies side. And then we have Thailand, who was convinced to join on the Allies side by the USA, but then in exchange for that, they did get some countries that they not expect to join on their side. For example, Argentina, because they hate the UK, Venezuela, because they hate Colombia, and then there's Nicaragua, who has at least some sort of relations with Russia. So yeah, and then yeah, this really makes sense if you think about it. And then a lot of these are, of course, based on real life relations. And Germany did get most of the countries that they wanted to be on their side to join on their side, so they're happy with that. And let's get right into the war. Okay, so this is phase 1 of the front line, and let's have a look, right? Because this is an absolute mess. If you didn't think about that, it will be an absolute mess. So let me go through the front lines pretty much everywhere. So first off, we have Cuba and Nicaragua obviously getting slapped by USA in the Western Hemisphere. We have Venezuela pretty much gonna collapse because we have Colombia pushing in from the west, we have Brazil pushing south, and Guyana from the east. And then down here in South and South America, that's what we want to say, but yeah, South and South America, we have Uruguay being captured by Argentina, and Argentina makes use of their panhandle to push up into Brazil. We have Brazil, Peru, and Chile pushing into Bolivia. We have Paraguay being captured, and then Chile is cut into half. Okay, let's have a look at somewhere else, right? In Ireland, we have Ireland capturing all of Northern Ireland, and then there's France who's pushing into Catalonia, but Portugal is pretty much gonna die really soon because Spain is creating a spearhead towards Lisbon. And then in Northern Africa, Morocco and Western Sahara are pretty much gonna get slapped soon. But we do see Nigeria pushing into Cameroon and into Niger. But then in Western Africa, we do see Mali, Ivory Coast, Liberia, Mauritania, and Niger. These guys, they make some progress here in these small countries. And there's Cameroon and the Central African Republic, who's pretty much gonna get slapped. There's Somaliland, who rebels against Somalia. We have Sudan pushing into South Sudan and Ethiopia. So that's phase 1 of the front line in Africa. So let's head towards Europe. So in Europe, we have the Germans pushing into Poland from the west, and then we have the Russians managing to connect up Kaliningrad with Belarus. And with this, they also managed to capture Lithuania's capital, so they're about to collapse. And Poland lost most of their coast, so they're not in a good situation here. As you can see, they're pretty much surrounded by the red team. However, despite that being said, we do see Poland making a small push into Czechia as well as the Ukrainian puppet. And then down in the Balkans, we see Serbia pushing into Bulgaria, as well as Ukraine, Hungary, and Serbia pushing into Romania. And then in the Caucasus, we have Azerbaijan capitulating, and Russia and Armenia pushing into Turkey. However, in exchange to this, we have Saudi Arabia capturing Yemen in the Middle East. We have Israel capturing all of Palestine, and then pushing towards Egypt in the Suez Canal. We have Turkey pushing into Syria, Saudi Arabia and Jordan pushing into Syria and Iraq. And then over in Central Asia, we see Iran and Turkmenistan and these Russian allies attempt to push into Afghanistan, but Afghanistan is pretty much impossible to invade, especially now with Taliban. It's even harder. And then there's Pakistan, who's pushing into Iran. We have India, who's attempting to capture Pakistan's capital here, which is Islamabad. And then we have India pushing into Pakistan down south as well. But then we have China pushing into India from the east. And pretty much all of eastern India has been lost to China and Myanmar, as well as Bangladesh being capitulated. Over in China, we have the Chinese pushing up from Xinjiang. We have the Chinese also pushing into Kyrgyzstan. We have a push into Tajikistan. However, we actually see Mongolia, of all things, pushing down into China, attempting to capture the capital. And we also see the Russians pushing into Manchuria, making use of some of the rebellions there. And sadly for Japan, they do not make much progress here, as they do manage to land on South Korea, but South Korea is a lot stronger compared to back then. So yeah, they're not going to be able to make much progress, unfortunately. But let's get into the second phase. So in this second phase, we have some changes here. So in the Americas, we have Venezuela collapsing. Bolivia is about to collapse. Brazil pushes back into Paraguay, as well as reclaiming some of their lost lands. And then they capture Argentina's panhandle, but they are unable to push into Uruguay. We have Chile being won again. They're not cut into half. And instead, we actually have Chile pushing into Argentina. And then over in Africa, we have the Northern African powers doing pretty well in the red team. However, in exchange to this, Niger is not doing well, and Cameroon and the Central African Republic are gone. And even though Sudan is pushing into South Sudan and Ethiopia, Eritrea is lost, and the Somaliland is rebelling. And we actually see the Congo making use of the occupied Central African Republic, pushed into Sudan. And over here in Europe, we have France keeping their front line in Catalonia. However, Portugal is about to capitulate as Lisbon is captured, and their country is just a mess right now, being split into two. We have France actually making a breakthrough, pushing into both Germany and Italy. Now, the French-Italian border is really hard to push into for either side, because it's just mountains. But we also see the French capturing Sardinia. Sorry. Here we have Germany capturing the northern part of the Netherlands. We also see them attempting to push into Denmark, as we do see Sweden capturing Denmark's capital, which is Copenhagen, and capturing the majority of Denmark. So Denmark has surrendered to the blue team, but we see the Germans pushing in. And in Poland, it's not looking good for them, because the red team is just swarming in from all sides, and if you can't tell already, Poland is not going to do well. And over in the Baltics, we have Lithuania falling as they capture the capital. Latvia falls after they capture their capital of Riga. And then we have Estonia, who's about to fall. And then we have Finland pushing into Russia, attempting to take St. Petersburg. They did that in phase 1, but then Russia pushed them back here in phase 2. And we actually see Russia pushing into Finland, attempting to take out Helsinki, and from there capitulate the country. So, in the Balkans, nothing has really changed other than Turkey managing to push into the panhandle of Greece. We have Syria in the Middle East, who's about to capitulate, and a bigger push into Iraq. We have Afghanistan pushing out Iran, and then Pakistan's push into Iran is slightly bigger now. And then over in India, we see the Indian front towards Islamabad being capped, as well as in Pakistan. But we have Pakistan pushing into India from their border, as well as China making a breakthrough in Kashmir, pushing through those Himalayan mountains. But they do not do much because that area is really mountainous, so they do not manage to do much here. And we see that Afghanistan actually managed to push into Turkmenistan, and China managed to push back the Russians towards Manchuria, and Mongolia is completely kicked out of China. And then over in South Korea, we have Japan enlarging their front line against South Korea. And right, I forgot to mention, there's also the Chinese, who is pushing into some major cities of Russia here towards the southeast, like Vladivostok. They would like to capture some major cities like that there, so we see the Chinese pushing in. However, just to keep in mind, right, towards the northeastern part and the central part of Russia, it's pretty much all wasteland. There's Siberia and stuff like that. There's not really any major cities, so for countries like China, they would have to push a long way in if they were to even capture some major cities. So the good thing for Russia about this is that they would be mostly wasting their resources by doing that. But remember, there are some other countries who could push in from Europe and then capture Moscow somehow. That may or may not happen. And yeah, we'll just see. So that's the second phase of the war. Let's get into the third phase of the war. Alright, so this is the third phase of the war. And let's have a look. So in the Americas, Bolivia collapses. And then we have Argentina, who is about to collapse. We have over in Europe, we have Spain annexing Portugal. However, the French front line in Catalonia has been enlarged as they make use of the rebellions there. We actually have the French pushing into Germany along with Belgium and the Netherlands. They push into Germany, and Sweden manages to push further into Denmark, pushing the Germans out of Denmark completely. However, in exchange to this, we have Poland and all of the Baltics falling. And over in the Balkans, we have Romania falling. And, right, forgot to mention up north, we have the Finnish pushing back the Russians once again. They cut off some major supplies here around this lake. And, yeah, back in the Balkans, we have the Romanian government surrendering, as I just mentioned. We have the blue team continuing to push into Greece. However, Bulgaria lost some major cities up north as well as towards the west. And then over in the Caucasus, we actually have a little reverse card where Turkey and Azerbaijan get rid of all of Armenia, and they start pushing into Georgia as well as the Russian mountains here in the Caucasus. And then here we have Syria and Iraq fully falling to the blue team forces, as well as a push into Iran. Now, Iran is very mountainous around that area, but they do manage to break through and barely push through those mountains, even though Iran is pretty strong. But yeah, these Middle Eastern powers add up to be stronger than Iran here. Well, speaking of some Middle Eastern powers, we have Egypt actually doing not so well here because of Israel. We have the Jewish actually making a breakthrough from the Suez Canal and capturing some more cities up north from Egypt. And then over in Sudan, they're pretty much about to collapse soon. All of the south of Sudan has been captured by South Sudan, Ethiopia, and many of these are African powers out there. Chad is being pushed in by Libya and Sudan and Niger. But overall, they're doing pretty well in Sudan as well. We have Nigeria doing really well, pushing into Niger. And then over in Central Asia, we have the fronts made by Afghanistan and Pakistan remaining. Except over in India, we actually have China and Pakistan doing even better but we see India pushing into Bangladesh, and then the Americans make a naval landing in Sri Lanka and push into southern India in order to capture most of the populated areas. And here in China, not much has changed here except they captured Taiwan. In the Koreas, we actually have South Korea pushing them out, and they captured that island here from Japan. And yeah, that's pretty much it for phase 3. Let's get into phase 4. So here it is, phase 4. We have the blue team making a lot of progress here. First off, Argentina is gone. Second off, we have the Americans making a landing in Morocco and Western Sahara, pushing back the North African powers. And in Africa, we have the blue team doing very well. Sudan is about to be gone, and Chad pushes the red team out. We have Niger completely falling. Nigeria manages to push into Benin and Togo, as well as Burkina Faso. And yeah, the front in Egypt has been enlarged. Down in Spain, nothing changed. Towards Germany, we have the French pushing into Germany as well as Sweden. And these two front lines connect now. We have Bulgaria being liberated. Greece is completely captured, and they now push into Albania and Serbia. But they are unable to push into Romania towards the Finnish-Russian border. Nothing has changed in terms of the front line. In Iran, it's really not looking good, as these blue team powers are attempting to push from their Caspian coast to capture their capital of Tehran. And towards Central Asia, we have China and Afghanistan and Pakistan pushing through, making a big breakthrough, capturing all of Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan. They push into Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan, as well as Kazakhstan. And then India is here, pretty much about to collapse. China has managed to push into Mongolia. We have China pretty much capturing all of their lands that they used to have from Russia in the Qing dynasty. And we also see China, North Korea, and South Korea make a bigger front line here in Japan, pushing towards Tokyo. And then we have Sakhalin being captured by China. And we have the Americans making a landing in Siberia, making use of Alaska. And that's pretty much it from stage 4. So let's get into stage 5, where at this point it's just gonna become even better for the blue team. So here we have the French and the Swedish making a ginormous push into Germany. Look at that, they're just pushing towards Berlin. This is really not looking good. And then we have a naval landing in Portugal. We have a push into Catalonia, and then southern Spain. We have a push into Algeria and Western Sahara from Morocco, and they are doing really well. They capture a lot of lost lands, and they capitulate all of Sudan. They take out all of Egypt. They are pushing into Iran, capturing their capital this time. They push into the Caucasus in Russia. And Central Asia, not looking good. The front line is just getting bigger. And they crossed that lake in Kazakhstan. Mongolia has fallen. And the Chinese and American front line connect up in Russia. And India falls. So, yeah, if you can't tell already, this is looking terrible for the red team. So, alright. Phase 6. We have pretty much all of the red team's foothold in Africa being gone. Only Algeria, Libya are left in the red team, as well as occupied Tunisia. We have Portugal being completely liberated, as well as a push into Spain. They're about to fall. We have Hungary, who's fallen. Romania is back. Germany is about to fall. And their front line is enlarged in the Caucasus, as well as in Siberia. And then, okay, final stage. Let's have a look at the final front lines by the end of the war. So, Spain is completely fallen. However, the Germans actually make a breakthrough, pushing in from Berlin, and they managed to take back some of their lost lands. the push into Algeria and Libya is now bigger, and then other than that, no big changes. So yeah, that's it for the fighting. Now let's get into the peace treaty. All right. So let's have a look at this peace treaty. So taking a look at this peace treaty here, there's a lot that happened. So let me get through them one by one. Right. First off, we have the Americans taking over Cuba, as well as Honduras and Costa Rica dividing up Nicaragua. We have Brazil taking out land from Bolivia, Peru gains land out of Bolivia, as well as Paraguay. They gain land from Bolivia as well. There's Venezuela, who gave land to Colombia, Brazil, and Guyana, and the remainder of Venezuela is now a puppet. Argentina loses land to Uruguay, Chile, and Brazil, and their capital is in reach of Uruguay now, so they're not in a good spot. Over in Africa, a lot of countries are screwed here. Ethiopia takes land out of Somalia. There's Kenya getting land. Somaliland gets independence. Eritrea is gone. And the South Sudan gets a ton out of Sudan, as well as Ethiopia and Chad. We have Niger falling to Nigeria. A lot of these Western African countries getting some land out of them. We have Ivory Coast being puppeted. We have Mali and Mauritania being puppeted. And then Egypt cedes some land to Israel around the Suez Canal, as well as the northern coast. Morocco takes land off Algeria. And then over in Europe, we have Catalonia getting independence. The French get some land. The Portuguese get some land. And then over in the British Isles, we have the UK annexing all of Ireland. France gets some land from Italy, as well as Germany. But yeah, and then there's Denmark, who has fallen to the Swedish. But we actually have some exchange for this here, because the red team did win over in Poland and the Baltics. So we have Germany taking land from Poland, Belarus takes land from Poland, we have Russia taking land from Poland, Ukrainian puppet takes land out of Poland, and then the Baltics are divided between Russia and Belarus. And the remainder of Poland is now a red team puppet. However, Finland takes land out of Russia, cutting off major road supplies in Russia around that area. And then Romania takes out all of Hungary and some land of Serbia. There's Croatia and Slovenia combining into one puppet. And then there's Serbia, who lost a lot of land, and they're now a puppet as well. Bulgaria gets some land. Greece is gone, and the Turkey got a lot of that. And then over in the Middle East, we have Syria being gone. There's a Iraqi puppet and Iranian puppet. We have Afghanistan and Pakistan getting land out of Iran. We have the Caucasus getting land out of Iran. We have Saudi Arabia getting land out of Iraq, as well as Kuwait, and then Turkey getting land out of Syria, as well as Jordan and Lebanon and Israel. And then over in the Caucasus as well, Russia has to cede Georgia and some of their precious land with a lot of oil supplies around the Caucasus. They cede some land over to Turkey and Azerbaijan. And then over in Asia, we have India. Oh no. So Bangladesh, the majority of Bangladesh is given to Myanmar, as well as some southern India. And then China gets a good bit of eastern India, as well as some land in Kashmir. Bhutan is now pretty much surrounded by the blue team. Pakistan takes out some precious land from Kashmir, as well as along the Indian coast. We have the USA taking out this Sri Lanka, that island, and then southern India. The remainder of India is put into a puppet. And then China gets a lot of land here. But before that, let's have a look at Afghanistan, who, wow, they got a lot bigger. So they have Tajikistan now. And then they gain land out of Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan. And the Chinese, they make land gains out of Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan. And the Chinese, they also gain a lot of land out of Russia. They take out countries like Vladivostok. and then Sakhalin is also under the Chinese now. And then China, North Korea, and South Korea make a deal to divide up Japan. Basically, China takes out Hokkaido, and then North Korea and South Korea split up the remainder of Japan. Over in Siberia, we have the USA um, taking out Siberia, making use of Alaska. And that's pretty much gonna be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. This is my first time making a mapping video like this. So please do give some comments about what you think about this. It took a lot of time to make, so I really hope you enjoyed. Leave a like if you did. Subscribe, because I'll be making more of these videos. And remember to share them as well. So, yeah, I hope you find this interesting. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you guys later.